All right, guys, today I got the smoker broker, Mr. Robert. Absolute legend in the Keller Williams world. Gigantic team. And you've been killing it for years. So, first off, let's talk about smoker broker. What does that mean?
Yeah, you know, it's really a term out of love years ago. It's amazing that the interpretation it gets from other people. There are a lot of people that hear it and see the logo or something and think we're doing marijuana or vaping. And I'm like, I never thought that that would be the alternative, that someone could think about that. And in reality, been doing competitive barbecuing for quite some time now, and that's where that name came from. I always joke about it. I, just social events that I'd go to, someone would see me, and one time I was sitting at a table where uh, someone at the one side of the table said, "Hey, smoker, what's up?" And then one of the other people at the other end of the table said, "I thought you were a broker." And then someone said smoker broker, and it
Okay.
stuck all those years. So it was funny when we went through trademark, the paralegal, she's going through the stuff, and she's like, she pulls the main attorney in, who's a friend of mine, and she goes, "Hey, I'm really not comfortable doing all this." And she's like, "Why?"
Why?
Yeah. And she goes, "Well, I just don't think we should be getting into the drug side of stuff." And she goes, "Yeah, he's been on the competitive barbecue circuit for a long time." She's like, "Oh, I never," so it's interesting. I never thought that that was a side name to it. But I will tell you this, it's extremely catchy for most people. I never intended it to be anything. In fact, we joke, we just kind of jotted the logo down one day. But a lot of people, they recognize me that way, and it fits well with the real estate as a
No,
good co-brand.
it is recognizable because I've been at some of the real producers events. I've been at some of these
Yeah.
other events, and they go, "Oh, that's a smoker walk." As you're walking by, I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Before I ever knew
Yeah.
of you, and then I caught on to it, and now anytime I see the flames, I go, "Oh,
Yeah,
that's
it was never
Robert."
intended, which is sad because a lot of my education was in business and marketing, but it's been a really good co-brand. I tell you, the only
It works
negative to it,
well.
it does.
It
The only
does work
negative
well.
to it is sometimes when I have an agent working for me, even for a little while, I'll hear him say, "Well, yeah, I'm a part of the smoker broker group." I'm like, that is not. I go, "We are the SWR group. My name is that separately."
Smoker
Yeah, I
broker.
wouldn't want people to think that that's
And
the name of the firm.
SWR is what?
So we ran as an independent for about 15. So I started at Keller Williams 25 years ago.
Okay.
Left after 5 years. I always joke with Gary Keller personally that I didn't think the evening support was that great. But in defense of everyone, most brokerages struggle with after hour support. And I created SWR to fix that issue. SWR was originally named Small World Realty.
Okay.
And it's not the Small World Realty like you think. In fact, that's another trademark conversation. When we trademarked Small World Realty, of course, the Disney people had an issue with
I
that.
was gonna say
Yeah,
there's got to be some
yeah, and we were like, it has
small
nothing to
world,
do
right?
with
Yeah.
that. So we went into different sectors, and so they approved it. But we have over the years had a couple of people put that theme on. I'm like, you cannot put the little, it's a
No.
small world or anything. Small World Realty,
SWR
yeah.
is now the
Well,
brand.
we shortened when we came back into Keller Williams. We called Small World Realty that name because I always believed that if you're going to market, you should be able to expertise in the area that you're in. And then once you do that, you should go to another and
I
another.
agree with that. Yeah.
So, it's funny, years ago, I said, well, if we ever go somewhere else, so naive, I'm like, that'll never happen. But I want to have a global name, so I put world on it, and that worked out very well for us because we ended up expanding in other states, and it'd be very hard to, expand Lone Star Realty into Mississippi or Pennsylvania. So that's where the name came from. And the funny part of it is when we created it, you think you're so smart and intelligent and that nobody else has the name. It took me 32 names before I found one that nobody else was using. It was the most simplistic one. You ever want to humble yourself, try to think of a unique name that nobody else has. You'll
It's
get,
out. Yeah.
oh my God, it was 32 names though before we did it. So when we came back to Keller, it was too long, so I shortened it to be more professional. That's where we became the SWR group.
The name thing. I have a construction company. It's called Custom Concepts Construction.
Yeah.
And it's not unique at all. But somehow we got customconcepts.org.
That's great.
We looked it up, me and my website designer, and
Was it like the first try you did it?
just literally typed in
Oh
custom
man, you
concept.
got much luckier than I did.
It just popped up. He goes, there's no way this should be available right now. He goes, someone must have lost it, stopped paying for it or something, and we just caught it. But yeah, we got customconcepts.org. So
the fact that Small World Realty was one of the only ones that wasn't used at a bigger level, I was like, wow, the most simple one we did was the one that we went with. So that's funny. Maybe it's the more simple, the better off you are.
Maybe it is.
Yeah.
Smoker broker though, and you said competitive.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, there's awards from multiple years here, and I suspect that's not all of it. So
It's not. Yeah.
it's obviously a passion.
It is.
It's not just because you host events and you feed people all the time.
Yeah.
Right. But it's got to be a passion of yours. That you're involved in.
It is.
And you've probably spent more money than you cared.
Oh my God, yeah. When you do a weekend, you think those things aren't expensive. I think a weekend for one of those things usually runs us anywhere from $700 to $800 a piece, and that's 7 or 8 of us. So it's expensive. But it's funny. Gary's asked me about that too before. Why'd you get into barbecue? And I'm pretty blunt. I don't ever hold back or anything. He knows it too, so he's careful with me.
Yeah.
But I've told him, I go, a lot of us found it was a good reason for us to get together and drink for some reason. So we did it in the beginning just as a joke, and we actually found out that we weren't too bad at it. So over the years, we started getting, I'm never going to say we were serious about it, but we tried harder, and we ended up being pretty good. There's a couple culinary guys on the team, a couple professionals, and then all of us have learned over the years. Almost everybody on our team has some type of state championship or a grand championship. So we're proficient in all that stuff. But yes, it's a pastime. It's something that's great. I wish I could do it all the time.
Obviously you own a trailer smoker. You got refrigerators. Is it all in one unit?
So one of our guys has the big smoker, and he's generous enough to let all of us benefit from it. He has a great rig. He has one of the East Texas weld rigs. Smokers are all about welding, and we use that. It's got a lot of stuff on the rig itself. We don't do the refrigeration and the covers. I mean, we're not a commercial type of thing. In fact, that's funny. A lot of people will sometimes go, "Well, hey, how's your barbecue business going?" I'm like, "I do not have a business." Or they'll like, "Can you cater for me?" I'm like, "We are not a caterer." It's a compliment, but we don't use it. So the rig we have is sufficient for us to compete when we go somewhere, but it's just
and you're hosting stuff for agents.
Yeah, we do.
The office, maybe a fundraiser.
A lot of times we combine it, like in April, which by the way you're invited to as well. On the 12th out there in the stockyards, we're competing in that smoke down competition. But the agents will ask them, "Come on out." If we can combine them, we absolutely do. So yeah.
And then you were in Real Producers.
Yeah.
The magazine.
Yeah.
We just got featured in that.
That's great.
It's fun.
Yeah, they do a great job. I mean, he does a fantastic job with the marketing on that magazine.
And they always incorporate, I love that they incorporate your passion and your job in one. And so you're on the cover with the pit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. That was fun when we did it. That was great that he gave us that opportunity. And when we did it, we were like, well, we might as well do the mix of both. I mean, and it's funny, that shot was taken at the ice house here on Katy Trail because they had that big smoker out front.
You're right.
And they let us do that. So that was kind of fun when we did that photo shoot. So it worked out pretty cool.
But I mean, we go back to the brand name. For those agents that are always trying to figure out branding.
Yeah.
I mean, it's synonymous with you, the team.
Yeah, branding has to be somebody. You have to be recognized some way. I mean, you cannot be just like everybody else. It's no different the way houses are sold. Houses, you don't want to have the same house that everybody else has. You want it something to be interesting, something to be different. And that's what we try to tell everybody. It's funny, the guys a lot of times will come to me and say, "Hey, I'm thinking about calling myself this." And I have a lot of history. And I'm like, "Well, you have to think about this, or you have to think about that." So it's a great thing. I think everybody should have it at some point. It doesn't have to be something commercial. It just has to be something that somebody can relate to you with. So we focus a lot on that when we talk about, branding and stuff.
And the team is pretty big. How many people on the team now?
Yeah, there's 165 agents. We have about 130 or so in Dallas, Fort Worth, and then because that's where I originally started. But we also have hubs in Houston, San Antonio, and Austin. We have about 10 agents in each of those areas, and that is something we're really working on growing right now.
But I know something unique about you. A lot of guys that have teams like I want the most like 20-hour a day driven, just work.
Yeah.
That's not your team though.
No, in fact,
got a
I'm the black sheep of the family in the Keller environment. A lot of the mega teams are big on production, cold calling, calls. You need to sell this amount, which that's great. They're better than me. They should be that way.
Yeah.
But we created this to where full-time and especially part-time agents could do it. And I don't see how you can encourage part-time agents if you're setting ridiculous volumes that they could never create. I'm of the belief that if they start off part-time and they're given that leeway, they eventually might see that there's money in it, and then they eventually come full-time. Absolutely. That's what I try to do. In fact, I always thought it's funny that we have 50-50. 50% full-time, 50% part-time. I think it's a natural, progression. They start part-time, they're like, I can do this. Now, teachers are the best. They're paid horrible, You
but
get
they
a teacher.
care.
Yeah, they do. They absolutely care. They work nights for free. Take all that crap from parents and stuff. Those people are strong. Well, they make like 38, 40,000, something terrible. Then they start doing real estate part-time. 2 or 3 deals they pay for an entire year.
Yeah, quickly, yes.
In less than probably 1 month of what they did. And then they get to where they start making 100K or 150K, and they're not even working 15 hours compared to their 80 that they work taking crap. So that's absolutely what we try to do, is try to cultivate that person into becoming something bigger than they are.
It's definitely a culture.
Yes, absolutely. It's a culture that is not embraced by everybody, but if you've succeeded with it before, it's easier to implement. SWR is built very empathetic. I had to start doing it part-time. I was going through, I was on the executive crew out there with the Foot Action and the Foot Locker and the Just for Feet folks, and I pretty much got thrown into the streets. So I had to do something kind of to, leverage.
Shoes you wearing?
I got the Hokas, they're comfortable. I mean, I tell you, I walk a lot. So when I got those, I asked a nurse friend. about it.
Yeah, they know.
Yeah,
They're
it's
on their
funny.
feet all day.
Just for Feet and Foot Locker, they always had always great shoes, but they never created the ones that are like today, the comfortable ones. So yeah, we did that, and I was hesitant when I first started doing it. I'm like, this won't work. I was raised to be an accountant, an executive accountant, and you wouldn't think that an accountant would make a very good salesperson, but I kind of found throughout the years that people like the more laid-back approach versus the sales approach, and that's how we got into it. So we mimicked everything off of what I did, and it became a really good destination for a lot of agents out there.
You said you were with KW
Yep.
for 5 years.
Yep.
Started your own. You're back at KW.
Yeah.
You have a massive team.
Yeah.
Your culture matches KW obviously pretty
Yeah.
well, which is the family aspect.
Yeah.
The bringing everyone in for the trainings, the culture. Is being part of KW beneficial with the? I mean, they're known as real estate trainers. They're the best in the business.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's everything, and I couldn't be more grateful for Smokey Garrett, who runs a majority of the Dallas-Fort Worth ones.
Not associated with smoker or broker.
Not actually, yeah, we get that a lot.
Well, yeah.
I take objection to someone referring to him as Smoke versus me. I'm like, that's your regular name. So we joke about it, but he's an extremely powerful guy in the real estate industry. Him and Tommy Flood have been extremely helpful and have given us the platform to operate what we do. Gary Keller himself is the one who said that system is okay. Gary really changed his thinking years ago on mega teams, where I think what I do today we couldn't have done 10 or 15 years ago, but he empowered the ones who really run Keller Williams, which are the people like a Smokey and a Tommy, and he empowered those guys to basically say, look, if they're in the culture, make the model adjustable. And that's what they did for us. They adjusted it so that we could come in and run SWR the way we've always run it, and We can free ourselves up on the liability end, which is huge. And I mean, I hate to say it, and this has been a very difficult thing for me to overcome over the years. I have few regrets, but for years I told my guys the name didn't matter, and it was very hard to come to terms that it did. And
the branding.
yeah,
the
look,
recognition.
I'll use a simple analogy. It's amazing to me when somebody sneezes that they still ask for a Kleenex. You know, I'm like,
It's not
it's not a Kleenex. It's a hand tissue. And it's the same when you go to a restaurant, you ask for a soda. It's either Pepsi or it's Coke. And I don't like that. I don't. I've joked with Gary before. I go, I don't like the fact that Keller's a big name and it pushes people around like that. He knows I'm joking. But Amazon too.
Yeah.
I can't stand Amazon, but I guarantee you, the house is blocked with 30 packages right now. I had to make amends with what I thought was the best vehicle for us to eventually do better, and Keller was that. And that's a decision I wish I'd gone back to many years ago, because they have been just about everything for us to be what we are. We have literally doubled in production, size, and capabilities more than anything we could have ever hoped for. And we still run things the way we always have. And they're just that. And you know, I always like to be neutral with someone like you, because you talk to other brokerages, and I think everybody is trying to make the effort to be flexible with everybody out there. It doesn't mean one is better than the other. For me, that was a very good fit on what we did, and what it gives us when we're out and about. It's made us better.
There are definitely brokerages that are better than.
There are.
I go to 42 different offices.
Right.
I advertise my inspections, obviously, where I see the gamut of them. And yeah, there are definitely. I'm in probably 12 of those 42 are Keller Williams offices.
Yeah.
And that's not an accident.
Which is smart for you. That's right. It's not an accident. You know, there are many great brokerages out there, and some do very good jobs at what they do. But the fact is, it is Keller. I mean, there is something to say about it. You know, I don't know why it has to be a negative impression on, well, yeah, Keller's this. They're a very professional firm, and they've been like that for years, and they really wrote most of the itinerary on how we do this. Most of the other brokerages have some type of connection into Keller one way or the other. You know, we're respectful of everybody out there. It's just what's a better fit for you, you know?
No, I 100% agree with that. And I like the culture here. I mean,
I do too.
I'm in a bunch of offices.
Yep.
You grew a large team in a relatively short amount of time.
Yeah.
Considering some people are in the business for 20 years, it's just them and somebody else.
Yeah.
You've been in the business not a super long time, but you have.
I've been in 25 years now.
But I mean, to be at 160.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
That's an accomplishment.
Right. No.
Where was that snowball?
It's the niche. It's the niche. I mean, there are many brokerages that'll frown upon part-time work. Even inside the Keller organization, some of them do. Mm-hmm. But there are so many agents out there that if they knew they could do it, they would. There's a terrible myth in the real estate world about when you become an agent, you've lost all your weekends and you lost all your nights. That is such an absurd statement.
You can make it that way.
Absolutely, but most of the higher volume agents, you're talking about their weekend might be, I showed between 2 and 4 on Saturday and 10 to 12 on Sunday, and they do that every other weekend, and they're still making 6 figures. There's nothing that says that that's the way it is. You know, I've got two.
I don't answer my phone after about 5:30 or 6.
No, I do, but not before. The reason you're doing it's good because you're adjusting the way you want your schedule to run. And that's
Correct.
The key, right?
I answer at 6 a.m.
Right, which I won't, right?
Yeah.
So it depends. It just depends. So I've never. Boys are 17 and 15. I've never missed any of their events, and I do work 80 hours a week, but my 80 hours isn't like everybody. I believe 10 hours of the work that I do in a week is real work. The other 70 are things I like doing. Like I interviewed all day yesterday. That's not work to me. That's a privilege. Doing this is a privilege. These things are not work. I legitimately like what I do. So I'm out and about all the time, but it doesn't stop me from doing anything that I want. I just maneuver around it. So that stuff about I can't do it because of the schedule, that is what holds a lot of people out there from doing it. I mean, I'm biased. I think everybody should have a real estate license. I mean, I genuinely mean it. It's ridiculous not to have it. So we push that with people that, um, a lot of the people we target are someone who does have a full-time job. We're like, you absolutely can do this on the side. Um, Stay-at-home mom and dads, the investors that are doing only a flips for for themselves and a few others, the people in the retirement phase looking for the next step. We have a lot of those.
That's a
lot of them.
I know a lot of agents that are in the retirement of life, but they want something to do.
We're in a weird part of the world right now where you have the life span is expanded. It's 70 is not that old anymore.
No, it's not.
I mean, there's most people that are pushing to their 80s. Well, you get someone at 55 or 60 that some of those people are looking at a retirement.
What am I going to do?
They don't want to retire.
Right.
I mean, they're just, what am I going to, you're right. It's funny. Retirement has a bad niche to it. It's like, oh, finally. I'm like, finally what? Finally not to do a damn thing? Yeah.
That does sound miserable to me.
It does. It is miserable. And I think the ones that succeed in true happiness in retirement are the ones that they still stay busy, but they do things that they like. A lot of times that becomes real estate for a lot of those people out there. All the trades, all the retail, flight attendants, pilots, bartenders, waiters, all those people make good fits for us. So we took them because I knew that, look, I did this. I lived it. So I knew it could work. In fact, sometimes when I'm talking to a peer or someone that's higher volume and they'll make a crack about part-time, they're like, well, they'll never make it. I'm like, well, what do I know? I've only made X amount, but you're right. Okay, you shouldn't say that unless you've done it yourself. That is something I have no problem if someone doesn't want to have agents that are doing it part-time, because that's just their business model. Mm-hmm. But to suggest it doesn't work, I'm like, that's just a lie. You don't know it. We have proven over and over again, some of the best agents come from being part-time because they know it's going to take them a while to get up and going. So we're a big supporter of that. That's where that count comes from. It does.
You're leading 165 people. They're looking up to you. Recent announcement with NAR.
Yeah.
How do you navigate? Because you're going to have some guys in your business that are like, no problem, I'm fine with it.
Right.
And then you have some other people that are quite emotional about it.
Right. Yeah. Right? We're getting the full mix.
So as the leader of they're all looking up to.
Yeah. Well, I want to say something too about that leadership side, because I'd be remiss if I didn't. I have a director of operations, Brent Holdburg, and then I've got an ops manager in Sandy Hill, and whereas I am referred
I love
to,
Sandy.
They're great. Yeah. They are. They're incredible on so many different levels, and I'm fortunate to have them. When someone says, well, you're the leader, I go, they're really the ones that lead that thing. Yeah, I oversee it, but they're the ones that do it. So I always like to make sure I say that, because I think it's just, I'm not giving them any justice for it. As far as NAR goes, it's funny. Had the conversation with the entire team last night. Any broker with any competence level right now is addressing that.
Yes,
you have to. You don't have a choice. We had the full batch of what you just said in the last couple weeks. The scared, the misinformed, the what's going to happen. And it was enough for me to say, look, we need to talk about this at a higher level. And that conversation was 2 hours just, trying to get the message across. So this is going to be a really short comment. But if you really look at the NAR settlement, if you really dig down to it, it just says we can't advertise a commission on the MLS.
Right.
It didn't say we can't charge commission. It didn't say we can't phone call another agent and say, are you charging it? Nothing has changed, okay? And this belief about where you have a buyer saying, well, I guess that means I don't have to pay anymore, or a seller, if you believe that, I mean, I don't know what to think about your personality. You cannot possibly think that this whole process stops and we're just like, we'll just do it for free. Yep. It's ridiculous in its concept.
You're not going to get the representation for
it's
free. It's
camouflaged. All it's doing is it's taking how we've always done this and it's moving it somewhere else, but us telling them, look, that is exactly what we're doing. That's the key, is that we tell them now, this is exactly where that money's coming from. But, the lawsuit itself, if you really go through it, there's some absurd parts to it, but in the end, it's telling us that we can't advertise it, and we just have to be much more upfront. As far as it affecting the industry or, doomsday, that is ridiculous. I've compared it to when the internet came out in the early 2000s or late 90s for real estate. Not the internet came before that, but the real estate marketing on internet didn't start till the early 2000s. When that happened, when Realtor.com came out and started doing that, oh my God, every agent was like, that's it.
We're done.
They don't need us. And the truth is, it was the exact opposite. It propelled us. It made us better at what we did. So I compare it to that. I actually, it's hard for me. I'm a really accepting, neutral type of person. But the conversations about this is going to change everything and agents aren't going to make this kind of money, I'm like, I don't know where you put those two things together.
Right.
I go, there's nothing in there that said that's going to change. In fact, there are some arguments we make more doing this. I think the other side of the NAR settlement is that, and I'm going to be tactful the way I say this because it's my opinion. It's always important to say that. You say opinion because it's not a fact. But it's going to really question, is it encouraging someone not to be represented as a buyer, which in 1995, the state of Texas itself basically said that was a huge problem, and they redid the whole thing to where you had all these disclosures of agency and representation, and now it's almost like we're going back and saying, well, now you're telling us to go back before that. If you want to talk about the real hypocrisy, it really gets into what does someone like Trek think about that? Because some of it might contradict what they say you have to do. Because remember, you have a judge that made that ruling that's not an expert in real estate. They're just a judge. They're a judge on contract law.
Yes.
They don't know the rest of it. I mean, the truth is it contradicts some of the state stuff. It contradicts some of the FHA and VA notes. So we've got a long way to go with this. Make no
You don't
mistake.
seem scared, though.
No, and I'm glad you said it like that. If there's any comment that I wanted absolutely emphasized to my crew, and they know I'll answer. I don't sugarcoat anything. I've told each of them within a second of them asking, I go, it's never crossed my mind. It's never once. I've never been like, oh no, not once. And I like to think that I have a little bit,
yeah.
I like to think I have a little bit of street cred. I've done it long enough. I'm like, it doesn't change anything. Actually might make us better.
Damn
That's
right.
it. That's it. We can go a lot longer, but there's no more that's needed on that thing. That subject is a subject. That's why I told the guys last night that, and a lot of times when I do my meetings, it actually helps me because I go through something and I start talking and I'm like, oh, that's true. That lawsuit probably has created real estate PhDs for another 30 or 40 years on how they go through and investigate and research what effect does this have.
No, you're absolutely right.
The scholarly academic folks on the real estate side, they have just been given, between that and COVID, PhDs probably should be exponential, on the effects that it's had on the things that we do. But look, life changes. It always does. We always adjust to it. There's nothing that's ever stopped the United States. There's never ever something that stopped business. We always adapt. I think that's what's the most incredible thing about, I say this country. That doesn't mean other countries. And I just know what I know. But nothing ever stops us. We've seen the worst of times in everything.
Keep driving forward.
Man, if COVID didn't drop us, I don't think anything could. When I mean drop us, I'm saying that sensitively. I'm talking about COVID's probably the most damaging ever as far as retail and shutting things down and putting a country to a halt or world, and they're back up and running. They just adjust to it, and that's what I think we do best. We adjust, and that's exactly what this lawsuit is. We're adjusting to it, and we'll do it like we always do.
Adjusting, and then, you're a driven guy. Are you going for more?
Oh yeah. Actually, it's funny you said that. So
165 is satisfactory to a lot of people.
I have a hard time describing myself. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am driven. I was built that way. But I also think I'm lazy too.
Most entrepreneurs are both lazy and extremely motivated.
What we do should have over 10,000 agents.
Okay.
I absolutely believe that if I push that, which we are working on it. We are working on some things that literally double, triple, or quadruple us overnight. But I am driven because it's just the way I was put together, But that's from good parenting and myself picking up on it. but I probably don't do near as much as I should. I mean, I should do a lot more than I do, and it's just
It's all relative, though. So, like your idea of not a lot, we say 165 agents.
Yeah.
It's completely different than someone that's doing the ratio of it. My question would be, what is it that you were talking about those 10 hours a week that you're working?
Yeah.
And it's the production. What are those core habits that you're only doing a very small amount of time that is yielding some of these giant results? Where it, like
it's systematic. It's systematic. And we run, you actually said it great in the beginning. We have a 24/7 support network. We guarantee that we'll respond quick. We guarantee 2 hours, but it's always 10 minutes or so. We have a training tutorial system. I'm a long-term instructor in Texas, and I drafted a tutorial system that basically shows someone how to do everything we do outside of showing them how to go to the bathroom. I did it in layman's terms. We claim I can pull somebody off the street, and within 5 hours they can do something adequately enough that a 5-year agent can do. We do believe, and this is a bold statement because I know the peers in competition that we have, but we do believe our guys are probably some of the best trained in the nation when it comes to their first couple of years, because they just cannot. We put everything into those tutorials. I joke with Gary all the time about it. 101 training's tough for me. I'm like, I don't know why we're wasting our time on that. Nothing's ever going to be 101. My tutorials, I didn't put my high dollar suits on and did the old, hi, my name's Robert, and today, I put the phone behind me. I was like, look, here, in 2001 and 2003, I showed them how to do everything. I always tell everybody that knows me something that's not very complimentary about me, but I think it's mandatory to know and appreciate. So you ever gone into IKEA and you get one of those easy to assemble 1, 2, 3 shelves?
Yeah.
And you get to step 2 and there's like 27 more steps and it just expects that you know it. I wasn't built that way either. And I'm very good at following instructions, but I start losing my mind when the instructions are bad. I'm the type that'll start punching holes in the wall because I'm like, why do they expect me to know this? I tell people that because that's not something that's a very good habit to have. But when I created that tutorial system, I can promise you I damn well wasn't going to have an agent go through that and go, I have no idea what he's talking about. I'm like, that's impossible. I go, I'd have beat myself up if I had done that. So we worked hard at making it very detailed. And then we backed it up with, we made it policy that every single document goes through us before it touches a third party. We combined all those things. When you say short time, that took years to develop. But the after product is, it does not take us long to answer a question. There's nobody that calls me that's going to be an hour-long question.
I did something similar with mine. So with before I did the home inspection business, I did, and I still run it today. It's kitchen, bathroom remodels.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, flood and fire, remodel work. We do a lot of that. But I wanted a different business that was easier to scale.
Yeah.
And so for a year straight, I built the infrastructure for element inspection without ever launching it.
Yeah. So that's funny. That is very similar. I'm in the middle of my career at that point, but I literally almost took that time off to make it because it took a long time to make those tutorials.
It was a benefit that I had this already established business that was supporting my life.
Yeah.
And I wanted something new. And so
Which is why we accept part-time, specifically that reason. That's exactly why we do it, because we want to give them, we don't want them to lose what they have providing, but we want to give them the other option.
And at nights, weekends, or in the middle of the day when I had some time, I was building the infrastructure, I did research on, and I went through all the...
That's smart. You're a lot younger than I am, so that's smart, man. I wish I had done it, around that time frame, because it was so greatly helpful.
Building those systems just allows you to expand if you have the systems in place and you know the people you've put in charge of those systems are going to educate everybody, then your ability to expand and grow.
Well, and support. I mean, there's nobody that should call me that is. I do not get the, hey, how do I do this? I'm like, that shouldn't be a question right now.
Right.
Which means you didn't do what you were supposed to. Now, my guys will tell you their biggest pet peeve with me, and there's not many, well, maybe there is, but this is the main one.
One you know about.
Yeah. I'll answer any question from here to kingdom come, in any hour of the day and night. But they know it's followed before I start with, you watch the video on it, and some will lie and say, yes, I did. And then I hear them for the first time. I go, there is no way you watched that. Then I'll get the more popular. Yeah, but it's been like 6 or 7 months. I'm like, at least you tried. So that really is what powers us to be able to do what we do because it takes the time away. I mean, we know when they call, it's not going to take 2 hours to explain it to them. So that's been a big, I think that's what really fuels the rest of the system. Some of the guys will always, when they first get started and they start going through the tutorials, they're like, I can't tell you how nice it was that you did that for us. Yeah. I'm like, I go, I ain't that nice. I go, I didn't do it for y'all. I go, I did it for me because I was tired of answering the same damn question over and over and over again, and it ended up benefiting all of us. So that's where it came from.
That's how you build a business, though. You teach someone how to do something one time, and then they don't have to ask you again.
I mean,
but you took that time to
there were
teach
just
them.
too many things, and I'm like, if they're shown this and it's specific, there's no reason we should have to keep repeating it. So that's why we did it. It worked out well for us.
I mean, obviously, you're owing a lot of your success to the systems and trainings you put in place.
Yes.
And then you can capitalize on that and keep growing.
Yeah, the systems, the whole point of a system is that it frees your time up to do what you're supposed to do best, which is recruiting and sales, which is like our business that's all it comes down to, sales and recruiting. So our day should be centered upon lead generation and recruiting. The operational side should be minimal if everybody knows what they're doing. Yep.
Are you adding more trainings?
Well, like, what do you mean? We always do trainings. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you're adding to your systems.
Oh, yeah. So No. It's funny. It's so long. It's just assumed that I forget when I'm talking to somebody else. Yeah. If I always tell everybody there's nothing that they should do that they're responsible for that they shouldn't see. Well, sometimes things change and they're like, hey, I didn't see that in there. Next day we're correcting it. So yeah, we are constantly going through. There's nothing outdated on those things. We have to keep up, which sucks when the contract and stuff changes. I'm like,
you got to redo
now we got to go through and restructure all that. So that can be annoying. But, oh yeah, we keep it up to date.
I like that. I mean, if you're wondering how he built a team like that.
It's because it gives us the time to do the other things. I don't think if we don't have that means I'm not recruiting as much and lead generating as much because I'm having to deal with problems or training. You can't do both. It has to be separated.
So there's always this question when you have a problem. Instead of thinking, how do I resolve it, you think, who?
Yeah.
Who can resolve that for me?
Yeah.
And that frees up time to build a business. And so your version of who is
the
trainings.
The trainings systems. And then, having, the godsends with Brent and Sandy.
Right.
Those are barriers before it gets to me. And 80% of the time, that stuff's killed before it even gets to me, which allows me to really continue to do the stuff that I need to do.
I like to say, after I hired Maddie, I literally fired myself from about 7 positions.
Yeah. I think Brent would appreciate it if there were a lot of things I backed away from. It'd be easier for him, and I agree with him. We were at I did one of the presentations at the Keller Williams, the family reunion recently, and one of our high-powered luxury agents in Keller Williams, his DO was there with me on the panel, and he was basically saying it was the equivalent of Brent talking about me, but he was saying, he doesn't do any of that stuff anymore. We keep him out of it, and it kind of, it was kind of important because I'm like, maybe I should back out more of some of the stuff because maybe I make it worse than it should be. So that's kind of funny you said that too.
I appreciate your time.
Oh man,
I love this.
You too. I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
In an inspection world, you have so many that are doing something that's similar because you have mandatory by track. You have to do this and that, and it's easy to say that they're all the same and they do the same, but it's far from it. There is a very precise measure that's done with that business. I think one of the things that you do well and you're even going to do better with as you continue is a lot of times when you look at that inspector, you're not so thrilled with, you're just like, great, they know some general knowledge of, I don't think anybody when they catch up with you looks at you and says, I don't think he's very competent in that. I think they probably go the other route going, I'm surprised he's the inspector, because I would think they would think you're even above doing that. And it's a real compliment because you're not like the normal one where you're just like, oh, hey, whatever, I actually think that when you put something down there, you're well aware of what the consequences could be. and that's going to serve
That's how
you
we
well.
train our guys. I mean, all the guys that are working for them.
And that's why we've made you our primary one, because I
thank
just
you.
don't understand, that's one of the reasons why I think you're going to continue to do well.
We're growing. I appreciate that.
Yeah, anytime. Yeah.
Guys, if you are interested in buying a house, we're going to put SWR Team Real Estate down below.
Yeah.
In
Probably
the
more important if
description.
you're interested in part-time real estate.
Well, I was
too.
going to
Yeah,
say,
that's the one that's a
the
big
more
one.
important thing is Robert's team,
Yeah.
and contacts and links to how to get in touch with them. That'll be in the description below.
Yeah.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you, man. Really do. I appreciate
you,
it
sir.
too. Enjoyed it. Yep.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right.